U.S. President Donald Trump says his administration has initiated the most extensive border and immigration crackdown in history. U.S. Ndiho spoke with Chinwe Esimai, President and CEO of Chapter 3 Global Advisors, about President Trump's immigration initiative.
There's been a significant shift in the administration's policy as it relates to immigration, and most of that is around enforcement. So we've had a number of immigration laws in the books, but there's been a lot of frustration, especially over the last few decades, but it's really mounted in the last 4 years because there seemed to be a very deliberate posture and position by the prior administration, either not to enforce some of the laws on the books or to put in place certain programs that made it easier for immigrants to either obtain or apply for asylum and then violate those applications, or to come into the U.S. So there seemed to be a very different posture with the prior administration, and President Trump is now enforcing those laws that have been on the books for a really long time.
President Trump ran on this issue, and the Americans agreed with him. But he has continued to get a lot of criticism in regard to how they have carried out some of these deportations. You and I come from Africa. There are a lot of Africans who have been deported, whose families have been, affected by these deportations. Your thoughts on that?
You were very right in noting that the president did run on this. He identified a high degree of frustration in a lot of American cities. If you look across New York City, which has traditionally been a melting pot, there have been a lot of concerns around the increase in violent crime in the streets, but also around taxpayer dollars funding immigration, immigrants, residents in hotels, helping them start businesses. And you just think about the tension that creates between, American-born citizens and people who are migrants, right? So you have certain American citizens who struggled for a long time to save up to start their businesses, to run their businesses, to maintain them. And then they see immigrants come who have their homes paid for, their residence, maybe not homes. In certain places it is homes, they were being put in homes, but in New York City hotels. So that raised a lot of concern. So I think as the administration is implementing the strategy, they do need to be careful as to the impact. They do need to be open to tweaking the strategy to make sure it's not reaching unintended consequences. So while carrying out the promises made on the campaign trail, how do you make sure that you're not impacting people that otherwise you may not want to impact? The administration, I think, is executing it to the best of their abilities, and there have been instances, whether on the business side or on the immigration side, where even supporters of President Trump may have been impacted by some of this, right? So I think it's a time of realignment, it's a time of readjustment, and hopefully once we have more of a steady state with the transition, I think we will be able to see laws that are more predictable, where people understand what the consequences are for certain actions, and maybe there's a little bit less fear about potential repercussions, but there's more understanding of what the administration's policy is and how people can expect to comply.
That was Chinwe Esimai, President and CEO of Chapter 3 Global Advisors, speaking to VOA's Ndiho.